Greetings, welcome to my backyard the day after Halloween, hence the hat. Today I want to talk to you about the Nirvana Kokoro 400. It's the 400 length version of the Dragontail Nirvana Kokoro series. Just received it in for testing, it's on pre-order now, and I want to compare it to the other 400 rods that I have just in the backyard, just wiggling. I fished most of these rods, 2 of them are brand new, but I think I'll be able to speak to what the action is like, and this is really just interesting for me. And I was like, well, if it's interesting for me, possibly it's interesting for you, so here we go. These are the rods that I have that I'm going to speak to today. So this is the Nirvana Kokoro 400, this is the Ragnarok 400, another offering from Dragontail. Then there's 2 TenkaraBum, oh Jesus, it's a dog, next door neighbor. 2 TenkaraBum rods, the TenkaraBum 40 and the TenkaraBum 40F, which is a much softer version. We've got the Oni Type-1, the Nissin Oni 395, the Suimu EX Gamakatsu rod, which is a 450, but it also fishes at 400. And then I've got the Airstage Fujiryu 6.4 410, which I just got specifically for nymphing. It's a very stiff rod. So anyway, I'm going to swing these. I'm going to talk about them. Hope this is interesting to you. If not, sorry to waste your time. Okay, I've got all the rods extended, and I'm going to start with the most familiar, and I think the most versatile, and possibly, if I had to pick one, this is the one I would pick. This is the Oni Honryu from Nissin 395, and it's a tip flex rod, so it flexes a little bit in the middle of the rod, but not much. I fish this a lot. I absolutely love it. Love the way it casts. If we go to the Oni Type-1, it's much, it actually has a more delicate tip, and it's a little bit more tip flex than the Nissin Oni Honryu. Then to remind myself of the Ragnarok, which I've fished a bunch, this is a lot like the Honryu in terms of, I think it can do everything the Honryu can do. We got a little helicopter here in the distance, sorry about that. But not with as much finesse, and the swing weight is definitely higher on the Ragnarok. But honestly, I think it can do most of the same tasks, just maybe not quite as joyously as the Honryu. Honryu is definitely lighter in the hand. I also prefer the handle, much bigger. I love that. When you hook a big fish, you can two-hand it real nice because it has a nice long handle. The other rods here, this is the Gamakatsu 450 Suimu, and this is actually a 450, but it fishes at 400, 350, and 450. And this is very much a tip flex rod. I consider this a big fish rod. So at 400, almost none of the rod is flexing except those top 2 or 3 sections. And that is very much the same as this Airstage Fujiryu 410, although I wouldn't call it a tip flex rod. It's equally kind of stiff and a bigger fish rod, but it's not as tip flex. This one, the flex is coming all the way to about halfway down. It's still light in the hand. These are all light in the hand. The Gamakatsu is incredibly light in the hand. The Nissin Oni 395 Honryu, very light in the hand. Type 1, yes, the Type 1 is, especially with this weight of the bamboo handle down here, it's just very, very well balanced. Okay, so then I've got the Ragnarok, which is a little bit heavier than the others, and a little softer in the top half than the others so far. But now we're gonna bring in the Kokoro 400. So the Kokoro, interesting. Let's go Kokoro and Ragnarok. So the Ragnarok and the Kokoro, very similar action. Wow, very similar action. Very similar flex profile too. I guess Brent has something he likes when he designs rods because these are very similar. Very similar. I would say the Kokoro's maybe even a touch softer, but I really can't. They're very, very similar. How about the swing weight? Let's just think about the swing weight for a second. Ragnarok has a little more swing weight, but honestly not terribly too much. Not terribly too much. How's the tip recovery on these guys? The Kokoro is noticeably better tip dampening, if you will. It has less tip wiggle. All right, so let's compare the Kokoro to the Honryu, 395. Honryu looks a little stouter up in the bottom half of the rod, like up from the handle. And it's a little more tip flex. It manages to be a tiny bit lighter in the hand in terms of swing weight. Yeah, maybe it feels like there's less weight up there near the tip than the Kokoro, but Kokoro is quite nice. Quite nice. All right. Yeah, similar flex profile. Similar flex profile. All right, let me bring in two other rods. This is the TenkaraBum 40, which is known for being a little bit stiffer and a little bit more tip flexy, and that is definitely the case. So if we let's see, go Kokoro and TB40. Kokoro is definitely softer through the middle of the rod. TB40 feels like it has more backbone lower down. The TB series is also insanely lightweight in the hand, so the TB40 feels a little bit lighter weight than the Kokoro. And yeah, it feels like a little more tip flex, a little less flex in the middle of the rod. But if we compare it to the 40F, the 40F is like a TenkaraBum 40F is like a full flex. And this is like way more of the rod is flexing. Like you're flexing all the way down to here on the rod, even with little movements. It's really spread out. So if you like a full flex rod, this is more like that. And compared to the Kokoro, yeah, the Kokoro seems to only flex in the top half of the rod compared to the 40F where the whole thing is flexing. Now I fished this 40F, I caught a really feisty 15-inch brown on it, kind of no problem. I've even been throwing streamers with it, so it's not to say you can't catch big fish or throw heavy lures with this. But yeah, interesting. Okay, let's think about the swing weights here. TenkaraBum's a little bit less swing weight. Again, feels like it has a little more of the weight towards the hand. I don't know. No, it's pretty similar. It's pretty similar. So of note, this is all Japanese rods except for the Dragontails. Now this is back on the Ragnarok. Yeah, the Ragnarok feels less refined than the Kokoro and heavier, more tip heavy, and more nervous. The Kokoro, the dampening seems better, but honestly, they're pretty close. Yeah, and I fished the Ragnarok, and I like the flex profile of it a lot. And so it seems like I'm gonna like the flex profile on the Kokoro too. The TenkaraBum is noticeably stiffer and has more backbone and is more of a tip flex rod. The Oni is kind of the extreme example of a tip flex rod, but it's also lighter weight, meant for smaller fish. This is the Type-1. And then the Nissin Honryu 395 is definitely made for bigger fish, and it feels a lot like the TenkaraBum. I think it's Tom Davis, the reviewer, that basically his favorite is the TenkaraBum 40, but he uses the Oni Honryu Nissin sort of interchangeably in situations. And this Honryu 395 can catch real big fish, you know, close to 20-inch fish on this in current. What about the swing weight of the TB40? Yeah, these are very good, very close. Like, these are just exceptional. All of these are exceptional rods. Look at the Gamakatsu again real quick. Yeah, it's a very stiff rod at the 400 setting and just a tip flex. But I've fished it at 400 at the 350 setting, which is here, where it becomes a very, very tip flexy. I fish at all three settings, 350, 400, and 450, and it's a joy. This is one of my like top 3 rods, I think, of all time. At 450, it's great. You're in control. It's pretty light for a 450. Just fantastic. gonna pause for plane. I can hear one taking off from the airport. Yep, there it is. So the Nissin Airstage Fujiryu rods, I think, have the most difference in their flex profiles of almost any rod I've ever tried in two flex profiles. So the 6.4s are very stiff. So this is a super lightweight, super comfortable, but it's a very stiff rod. So I got this specifically for throwing bead heads and nymphing in deeper water. But the 5.5 version of this is super, super soft. And the same with their like 360, the 5.5 versus the 6.4, but looks like we got another plane. Stand by. Okay, so getting back to the Kokoro 400. I mean, this feels like a really, really well designed, really refined rod that's, I mean, just as good as any of these Japanese ones I have on the table. It definitely feels like a step up from the Ragnarok. And if you're thinking about having the rod for a decade or more, probably worth the extra money. As long as they can handle similar sized fish, and it looks like they should be able to. But yeah, it's very light in the hand. I look forward to fishing this. So I don't have any conclusions for you, but at least those are my thoughts. I think this Ragnarok is at the level of these Japanese rods for sure. I think these, sorry, I said Ragnarok, I meant Kokoro. The Kokoro rods feel very, very similar to the Zero Sum rods, which I no longer own, but almost indecipherable in your hand from those rods. So it's pretty cool to see an American company offering very similar offerings to top Japanese rods. That's really great. What do I not like about it? I'm not a huge fan of the handle shape. It gets a little thin for me. I far prefer the handle on the Oni Honryu 395, but I know people with smaller hands than mine that hate this handle, so it's really preference, and this is a standard handle. It just gets really thin in there, and I really like the long handle on the Oni 395. The 395 is kind of my benchmark for a 400-ish rod. It's just the one I sort of go to measure everything else against, because it just does everything. It does so many things so well. I mean, the Oni Type-1 casts the best for sure, but it can't really handle the bigger fish that we have in American waters as well as the 395. And I do like the TenkaraBum 40 as well, but I don't love the foam handle. I love the handle on the 395. So anyway, this is kind of now starting to ramble, so I'm going to cut this off, but I hope that helped. I hope some of these comparisons helped you. Just to summarize, the Ragnarok is a great rod, the Ragnarok 400. I think the Kokoro 400 takes up the refinement level, the fit and finish, the look, but also the casting finesse, and we'll see in terms of fish handling and landing and stuff like that. The TenkaraBum 40F is a very full flex rod. The whole rod flexes. So if you like that, you'll probably like that rod. Oni 395 is my go-to and probably my favorite, although the Type 1 is hard to beat if you're fishing for small fish. TenkaraBum 40 is a super lightweight, just a fantastic rod, great for creeks where you want to have control of the fish a little more immediately because it is a little bit stouter. And then the Gamakatsu, it's really a big fish rod, and I use it mostly at the 450 setting, but you can fish it at the 400 setting as well. It's a phenomenal rod. And then this Airstage 410, this is the Airstage Fujiryu from Nissin, and the 410, it seems very stiff. It seems like it'll be a great nymphing rod in deeper water. I'm actually going to try it out next weekend for that exact purpose, and I shall report back. Here's just a look at their collapsed lengths. So this is the Airstage Fujiryu 410. This is the Gamakatsu 450. It's sort of exceptionally long. Nice long handle though. I mean, I love this rod. The Oni Type-1, the Nissin Oni Honryu 395. Again, look at that handle. It's nice and long, nice and thick. Love that. The two TenkaraBums, the 40F and the 40. The Kokoro 400 from Nirvana Dragontail, and the Dragontail Ragnarok. So you can see it's right in they're all in about the same wheelhouse of length. And they're all fantastic rods, and man, this one really holds its own, in terms of feel and weight. And yeah, so I look forward to fishing it, and we'll see you later. So there you go for my backyard, just a quick little comparison, little discussion of just wiggling it against some other 400 rods. Again, this is not a comprehensive anything, and I'm gonna have to fish it and put a line on it and cast it. But so far, it's just, this line of rods has really impressed me. I have the 320, I have the 360, and now this 400 seems just excellent as well. So can't wait to fish it, and stay tuned for that. See you in the next one.